I've been testing all kinds of things lately. I just had an idea. Would metal powder mixed in translucent clay do an effect similar to the mica shift? So I went ahead and I tried, because my microscope is long gone, so I wasn't able to see if the metal powder was spherical or flat. Now, one thing, if you mix it like this, you're gonna make a mess. And the good part is that, you know how whenever you try to mix mica powder in clay, it gets all crumbly and you need to keep adding more clay softener. Well, it doesn't happen like that with the metal powder. The clay stays nice and soft and all that. The best way to mix it is flatten your clay and then spread the metal powder on the working table, and then just pick some with your sheet and just keep folding, and you'll see that it mixes in no time. And just keep repeating. Just pick up more clay and fold it with the part that has the powder inside, and just keep folding until you'll notice it doesn't take long before it gets all nicely spread. Once you're done, you can of course get it through the pasta machine. And what I did here, I have 4 different metal powders, and honestly, after I finished everything, I'd rather not have gone with the pearlescent. This is all alumilite, not all alumilite. I have pearlescent alumilite, copper alumilite, silver alumilite, and the gold is the old Mona Lisa metal powder, which was the most perfect, beautiful of all metal powders ever. Too bad they don't make it anymore, unfortunately. So what I'm doing, I'm just arranging them like for a wood, a faux wood or a faux tiger's eye if you want, just in a... And by the way, no, it doesn't do tiger's eye. Those metal powder particles move very weird, very different than the mica powders. Anyway, so just put them together and then flatten the whole thing, double it over, get it through the pasta machine on the thinnest setting, on the thickest setting, I'm sorry. And then once you get it once through the pasta machine on the thickest setting, then kind of push all those colors together. I'll show you here in a minute how. So you can get them to get that a little bit of a gradient when they meet, and then just keep going through the pasta machine trying to get color on color until you get them to mix a little bit. What I'm using here is a Darice embossing folder. I think it's called Damascus or Brocade. I'm gonna put the link in the video description, because this is, you need something that is very deep and very sharp as imprint goes. And as you can see, I use the wax paper on top of it and some Armor All as a release agent. And then what I will be doing is just shaving exactly like for a mica shift. The thing is that with the metal powders, you get a way, I don't even know how to explain it. It is different than the mica shift. It is way deeper. It looks almost, in a way, it looks almost like you're looking through layers of glass, but in another way, it looks like metal, almost like mokume, the real mokume gane, the one made in metal. So I don't know. I will try also to do mokume gane with metal powders. I do have in plan to buy some more colors, and also different brands, because I'm still trying to find one that would be as fine as the Mona Lisa was. Unfortunately, I cannot find my silver one. The only one I have left is the gold, and that doesn't help much. But anyway, you see, after I shaved, I'm flattening it exactly like for a regular mica shift, and you can see already that it is very, very deep. Now what I will be doing next is to create the base of a little bit of a domed bangle. So I put first a strip of scrap clay about 1 inch wide, and then a second strip that's got about 1/4 of an inch on each side on top of it. And then I will be using my roller, and see, I think I said that before, I prefer this purple roller to the regular one because it's got that end that is rounded, and that allows me to keep a perfectly angled, see how I am doing here? It allows me to maintain the same angle, and that is awesome whenever you're trying to do domed bangles. And after that, of course, you do the evening at the edges to have a pretty nice straight edge, and remove the excess clay. And all you have to do is to bake. Don't bake it for more than half an hour, because you'll still have to bake it twice more. So that should be just fine. I sanded it after baking it so it would be more even. After which, of course, I'm placing some bacon bond and smear it really, really well. And then I will be placing my Metalshift sheet. Here you have to pay a lot of attention not to trap any air pockets in there. And I will show you where the edges meet. You'll have to feather a little bit so that it will look close to those gradient lines, so the meeting of the edges wouldn't be that obvious. But again, check the whole bangle for trapped air pockets, and then you can start feathering that area. After which you just fold the edges in all around on both sides of the bangle, and then simply trim the excess with your rigid blade. And obviously you need to make sure that everything is nice and smooth. And I know I've been asked so many times, and I keep saying, how come I don't leave fingerprints? Well, the secret is that about twice a week I file my fingerprints. Not to the point of not having fingerprints left at all, not at all, but I just get the brunt of them, so I don't leave that many fingerprints. Also, amazingly, this metal clay, I don't know if I can call it metal clay because it's got metal powder in it, doesn't seem to get as many fingerprints as the regular clay. I don't know, it might be the metal powder in it. So once you do this, then you bake it again for another 30 minutes. It's pretty, isn't it? Already pretty. While it is baking, just grab some of all your remains, get them through the pasta machine, marble them a little bit, and then fan fold. And we'll make this time something that will really look like a metal mokumegane for the inside of the bangle. You saw that I flattened them a little bit by pushing them to the side, after which I will be slicing off pieces. And you can see it does that, and it's not mica shift because this is metal powder. That's why I call it Metalshift. But you can get some beautiful effects with it, and I promise I will make some more pieces with these combinations. And as I keep getting more types, and I will be putting some in my Amazon wish list, because as you know, my budget is not that terrific. And if anybody is able to purchase some more, then I will be able to test and for everybody. So so you don't have to spend your money on stuff that you don't know how it's going to work or not. But you can see how pretty it is. And just you can just cut from the edges and put in the middle until you get a sheet that is the proper size. And I ran it through at the third thinnest setting so that the bangle would not get too thick. And it is resilient enough, just a little bit flexible, but not to the point of not to maintain its shape. It maintains its shape just beautifully. But you can already see how beautiful this is. And I was talking about the pearlescent alumilite. It is not like the other alumilite metal powders. Those metal particles in it are way bigger. They are almost like a small glitter. And to put the backing on, obviously I'm putting some more bake and bond there, and then I will be placing the backing, and with a lot of care to not trap air pockets again, and then I will smooth the edges and trim the excess. Now, talking about that pearlescent alumilite, do you remember when I did the comparison of mica shifts between Premo, Pardo and Cernit? Remember how the Cernit mica particles were way bigger than the ones in both Premo and Pardo? That's pretty much the same difference between the metal particles in the pearlescent alumilite and the metal particles in the other alumilite powders that I have. Well, I have silver and copper. And definitely the alumilite, the particles are bigger than the particles in the Mona Lisa powder, the gold Mona Lisa powder that I have. And also that Mona Lisa gold powder says pale gold, but it's definitely not pale. So as you can see, I checked for air pockets, and then I will be folding the clay that gets over the edge, and I'm going to smooth it nice. And you know the effect of raw clay over baked clay. If you roll over it with the roller, it's going to practically separate by itself, and you won't have much to trim. But I will still be doing a little bit of precision trimming, after which the bangle goes back in the oven for another 30 minutes, and then it will start the job of sanding. Now, I was asked again, how come I managed to get such a glossy finish on my stuff? And the answer is that you need three things to get a beautiful glossy finish, and none of those involves any kind of expensive equipment. The first thing is to do a proper sanding. You need to go from like a 300, then to a 600, then to a 800 or 1000, then end up with at least 1500. I usually end up with a 2000 or sometimes even a 3000, depending on what. And a lot of times it may happen that I buff, and then I notice that there are some areas that didn't buff properly, so I go back to sanding on those areas. The second thing that is very important is that whatever you use as a buffer, be it a flex shaft, be it a mini bench grinder, or an expensive thing, it has to have at least 8,000 rotations per minute. Those RPM things, they have to be at least 8,000. You can do a pretty decent job at 5,000 when it comes to a flex shaft, not when it comes to bench grinder, but the 8,000 is the best. 10,000, if you have weak hands, you might have problems holding on to the piece. And you can see that I am smoothing with alcohol as usual to get nice and smooth finished surfaces. Now, the third thing that is very important is your buffing wheel. For the mini bench grinder, I have if you search in my videos the one that says sanding and buffing on a dime, I have in the video description there where to get these buffing wheels that are a very, very fine muslin. And for the flex shaft, the one that goes on your Dremel, I have discovered a while ago some fine wool mini buffing wheels that work better than the muslin. Now, the ones of you who have watched my tutorial, you know that I'm talking about the butterfly kiss. Whenever you buff, do not press. You have to barely touch the piece to the buffing wheel. Otherwise, you will gouge the polymer clay. The polymer clay is soft, number one, and number two, in the process of being buffed, it will warm up. So, you know what happens when you have polymer clay right out of the oven? It can get gouged very easily. So as you can see, I can get an absolutely gorgeous shine on my little mini bench grinder, and these are under $50, and they come with a flex shaft too. But all you have to do is to be very, very careful how you hold it, and don't let it go. Don't press. And of course, use your flex shaft for buffing the inside. And this is the result. As you can see, it is beyond gorgeous. Look at the inside as well. It looks like metal mokumegane. The top, I cannot even say what it looks like. It's just I've never gotten with mica clay such an effect, such a beautiful effect, even with all the mica shifts I've done in my life. But yeah, I hope you'll have fun trying this, and I promise I'll make more. Happy claying!